Open it up, swashbucklers! You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 128. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show, just like always. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling your friends and leaving reviews and talking with us on Facebook and Twitter and all that. All that stuff helps me keep the show going, so I appreciate it. Speaking of which, thanks to all great discussions over the Arn Shore episode from last week on Facebook and Twitter. All sorts of great talk about Jewish pirates and things, and a lot of people are interested in that type of thing. So Hollywood, if you're listening, might be a good project to do. Go talk to Arn Shore. Let's do a bigger version of the Jewish Pirates project because people were very interested in it. So if you're new to the show because you came in last week, welcome. We're going to talk about more pirate stuff today, and it's going to be all fun. What I thought was funny, though, is I caught some people who were participating in the discussion, which is fantastic, and I always appreciate it, but they had obviously not listened to the episode. I'm going to say yet. They hadn't listened to it yet. They may have been planning to listen to it, but they were like, hey, there's this book called Jewish Pirates of the Caribbean. You guys might dig it. And it was like, yeah, we talked pretty extensively about that book during the episode. So I caught him a little bit in that. But anyway, I appreciate the discussion, as always. So anybody that's hanging in there and talking with us is cool. Episode number 128, of course. Fun fact about the number 128 in an Atari 2600, which, if you are of my age group, is a product that you hold near and dear to your heart, the Atari 2600. In the Atari 2600, there were 128 bytes of memory. That's bytes, not kilobytes, not megabytes, not gigabytes, certainly not terabytes, 128 bytes of memory. That is a crazy small amount of memory used to make Pac-Man run around the screen. That just blows my mind. We have more than that in our cell phones now. We have more than that in our brains, I'm pretty sure. That's a crazy small amount of memory. Speaking of cell phones, I don't have one yet. We talked last week. My cell phone's in the shop being repaired. It's been 5 days now. Speaking of which, I'm doing this a little bit early because I have to go to Las Vegas this weekend, and I'm going to be driving right up until you hear this on Tuesday morning. So anyway, if something spectacularly weird or bad or good happens in Las Vegas, I'll tell you about it on the next show. I'm going to just assume that it's just a good drive and a good weekend in Las Vegas. We'll go with that. But I still have no cell phone, and it driving me a little bit batty, right? Used to poking a thing with my finger all day, and I have nothing to poke my finger on. They tell me it's going to be back in another week or so. In the meantime, I don't like to travel without a cell phone, especially when I'm driving through the desert. So I borrowed my dad's cell phone, and it's an old Galaxy S3, so it's like 4 models behind the one I've got. And I had to just put stuff on there that I absolutely need for the trip. Like I'm staying at an Airbnb, so I had to get the Airbnb app, and I had to get like Facebook Messenger because I use that a lot. But why it's annoying to set up another cell phone that you know you're not going to have 3 days from now, and you're just going to give back. So I got it when I come home. I got to erase all that stuff and give it back to my dad. And I also have people are going to wonder. They're like, why is there a picture of an old man holding a baby on your cell phone? And I will have to explain that that's my dad holding my niece. And it's weird that I would have that on my cell phone, but it's his, so that's why it's there. I can't tell you how I am so looking forward to getting out of town and doing these shows this weekend because it has been a week. Broken things. It's been broken things week. Broken phone, girlfriend's computer, broken. Had to take that in. Plumbing. There's a plumbing thing happening in the house. When we turn off the water, our pipes go blah, 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 blah. And we don't know what that is yet. So that's broken. Websites were broken. I had to sit down and fix website things that weren't working. And so it's just been a week of working, of broken things. I got turned down by a comedy club I've been trying to get into, and turned down in terrible ways. It was an unpleasant experience all the way around with that email that I received from that comedy club. So it was a little pain of rejection happening this week as well. So I'm excited to just go spend 10 hours in my car driving to Las Vegas. I'm going to do a couple shows while I'm there. I'm going to play in Santa Cruz tonight. Just to get on stage and commune with an audience for a while, I think is going to do me a whole lot of good. So by the time you hear this, those shows will be done. I'll tell you about them next time. But here's what's coming up that you can catch me at. On Friday, February the 9th, I will be at Good Times in the Grotto at Sports Basement in San Francisco. Yeah, that's the basement of a sporting goods store. But it's a really fun show that they've been doing up there for a long time. So that's February 9th. Saturday, February the 10th, I will be at the Rincon Tap Room in Santa Rosa, California, headlining a show there. Saturday, February the 17th. This is a cool gig. If you happen to be a horror movie fan, which I know a lot of pirate folks are, if you're a horror movie fan, then you know Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. And they do an annual thing called the Silver Scream Fest. It's their movie festival, their film festival. And I'm going to be headlining their VIP charity dinner on Saturday, February the 17th, which is interesting because I'm not like a super horror movie guy, but they like my work, so I'm going to do it. It's going to be fun. So I got to write some horror movie material to go do that. But it's going to be a blast. Famous Monsters is a magazine that's been around forever, so that's really cool. And it is a publicly available event. So if you are in the area and you're going to the Silver Scream Fest, get your a little add-on ticket for the VIP charity dinner that night, and you can come and rub your little demonic blood-stained elbows with some other famous people from the monster movie industry. That'll be a cool one, February 17th. And then Thursday through Sunday, February 22nd and 25th, I will be at the Slow Comedy Festival in San Luis Obispo. That's why they call it Slow. I don't know which shows I'm going to be on yet during the festival. I should find out soon in the next couple days here. But anyway, just go to the festival anyway if you're in the area. Lots of great comedians on this festival. It's going to be a blast. So that's Thursday through Sunday, February 25th through 22nd through 25th. That's the Slow Comedy Festival in San Luis Obispo, California. We've got a sponsor on the show today. We are sponsored today by TeePublic. And TeePublic does a cool thing. They go out and they work with independent t-shirt artists to create t-shirts, and then they sell them. They pay the artists. They pay me a little bit for selling them, and it's all good. And I have curated a collection of over 100 really super cool pirate t-shirts for you to check out. There's scary ones, there's sexy ones, there's funny ones. Like if I guarantee there's a pirate t-shirt in the selection that you must have. And if you've bought one already, thanks for doing that. I appreciate that. I've seen the sales going through, and that's really cool. You help support the show by doing that. So go check out the list of over 100 really cool pirate t-shirts that I've curated for you personally with my own clicky fingers. And to do that, go to underthecrossbones.com/shirt. That's underthecrossbones.com/shirt to see all the cool pirate shirts that I have picked out for you. And of course, all these show notes for this episode will be at underthecrossbones.com/128. And if you want to support the show, that would be awesome in other ways than just by buying t-shirts. Go to underthecrossbones.com/support. There's a little PayPal box there, a donation box. Drop whatever you like in the donation box. Maybe the price of a bottle of rum or something like that. If you are, there's an Amazon banner there. Click that little Amazon banner. You go to Amazon. You buy yourself something nice. Something cool. Buy a new hat or something you just need. Maybe dishwasher detergent. I don't know. They sell everything. Buy whatever you're going to get at Amazon after you click the banner, and Amazon kicks me back a few shekels, and that helps a whole bunch too. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, like TeePublic or Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast or any of the other sponsors we've had over the years, go also to underthecrossbones.com/support. There's some information there. We'll hook you up. It's cheap and easy, and that's the way it works. I haven't even told you who my guest is yet today. Oh my gosh. Yapping. My guest today is Jenai Marek, and she is the author of The Dangerous Voyage of Gup the Sailor, and which is a great book. I really enjoyed reading it. And she's just started her Kickstarter for the second book in the series called The Devil to Pay. And so Gup is continuing his adventures, and as long as the Kickstarter works out. So, who knew? Who knew? Pirating depends on the Kickstarter working out these days. So Jenai is a great lady. She's got a really great story. She's down in Texas, so we're going to talk some of the Hurricane Harvey stuff that happened to them, which was pretty nasty work. And we're going to talk some shark tagging. That's in there. And we're going to talk writing and Gup and who Gup is in real life and all kinds of good stuff. So that is coming up. Let's do it. Let's get into it. This is my interview with Jenai Marek. Dig it. We're here today. We're going to talk about your book, the Gup the Sailor series, which you have one out now, and I think you're getting ready to do Kickstarter on the second one. And we have lots of stuff to talk about. So first, give me the log line of the Gup series. I just finished reading it. I really enjoyed the first one. But for those who haven't read it yet, give us the log line of what's happening.
All right. Well, we start off with a young boy named Gup. He is a sailor. He was literally born and raised on his father's ship. And his father and mother are a very famous privateer married duo.
Okay.
And they work under the king of a country known as Jarendale, because the world of Gup the Sailor is a fictitious fantasy type world. But I drew in a lot of historical piracy aspects to really enhance the story and bring it to life, and also inspire children to read more into the history of piracy itself. Mm-hmm. It starts right off with him being basically left marooned on this very conservative island and thrown into an orphanage. And it's these orphans wanting to know why this sailor boy is with them. And he just starts telling them his story. And that's basically where it starts off. And before you know it, he ends up getting a boat of his own and sailing with orphans and rejects from the town. And he goes on this wild adventure to find his parents again. So that's nice. the premise of the first book. And it does conclude nicely, but I left a huge opening for it to continue on, because I have 2 more books in his story already mapped out and ready to go. The second book is written. It's in the editing phase. And the third book is completely outlined out. It just needs to be written.
Fantastic. That's really great. And like I said, I did really enjoy the first book.
Great.
And it's a book designed, it's a young adult book. I am decidedly well past young adult, and I still enjoyed it, so adults will like it too.
Yeah, I wrote it for basically, I'd say, for the ages of 10 to 100.
Okay.
Because if you can't write a children's book that adults can't enjoy, it just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. And I am definitely between those ages.
Me too.
So why, I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Why did you decide to go with a YA style book rather than a full adult style book? What was your background on that, where you decided that was a good way to go?
One of the reasons was because I first started writing the book when my only son was born. Uh-huh. And I had been raised to love reading books. And one of my favorites, of course, was Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, of course. And I wanted to if I'm going to write novels, I want it to be something that my son can pick up right away and share with his friends. And they can have that same inspired sense of adventure that I grew up just fostering from the books I was reading. Mm-hmm. I wanted him to share that with me.
Okay.
So I wrote it for him. And in fact, the character Gup his name was taken from my son, because we call my son the Gup. His name is actually Elliot.
Okay.
And as you know, Gup's real name in the book is Elliot, but everyone just calls him Gup. How he got his name is similar not as dramatic as characters, of course, but the way the character got his name is very similar to how my son got his nickname. So,
that's great. Yeah, I was wondering where that name came from. I was like, that's an odd nickname to just pull out of thin air, but now it totally makes sense.
My husband and I are very avid fishermen, and when I became pregnant and I started feeling him kicking for the first time, people would ask me what it felt like, and I said, when you're fishing and a fish hits your line and your rod starts bending, and you have that sense in your stomach while you're fighting that fish, that's exactly what it feels like. He's like a little thunder guppy, like this thundering guppy. And anyway, that just kind of stuck. So everybody called him, before he was ever born, the Gup.
That's funny.
Or the thunder guppy. And so when I was trying to think, I didn't want to give the character in my novel just this regular old name. I wanted it to be something that was unique, unusual, and memorable. And I thought, Gup is it. So that's how Gup came to be.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really great. How old is your son?
Right now, he's 4.
He's 4,
He just turned 4 in November. So yeah, he's very young. And I'm hoping to have all of the Gup stories completed by the time he's old enough. Like when he's 10 years old, they should all be finished.
Okay.
I want him to start being able to read them on his own at the same age that Gup is starting out at.
That's really cool. That's really great. Why did you decide to place it in a fantasy world rather than the real world? Because with pirate stories, that's not often something we see these days. A lot of it is about the realism and the real hardcore history being mixed in with the fantasy. Why did you go with the fantasy world completely?
I went more with the fantasy world for a kind of a personal reason almost. Right now, and something that authors face every day is what is the deeper meaning behind the writing?
Sure.
And my greatest fear was, is somebody going to accuse me of looking down on another culture or country or religion? Because as you know, there's a villainous character right in the beginning who is a priest.
Sure.
And when I originally wrote the story, it was in our real world, and and this was a Catholic priest, and I have a lot of friends who are Catholic, and I thought, you know what? I don't need anyone to always have that in the back of their head wondering, do I hate Catholicism, or do I have am I harboring any ill will towards any of these cultures, that some of these pirates are coming from, because I'm not trying to make a grand political statement with this book. I'm trying to inspire this sense of adventure, wonder, and self-sufficiency in children. Sure. That's my main goal. So I just thought the only way I could do that effectively and not have to worry about somebody coming to me and saying, is your book really saying this about Catholics or about religion, or is your...
Right.
Yeah, so I thought, I'm just going to strip all that away. I'm going to create my own imaginative world with all new creatures, because there's going to be some fantasy elements, as there is. There's going to be mermaids. There's going to be maybe Kraken later on. Of course, there's going to be Kraken later on. There's the Leviathan, and some new creatures that are coming that I'm not going to say because I don't want to spoil it. But it's just something that I've decided is more important to focus on what the meaning I intend to have, rather than have people kind of read between the lines. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have that happen as well, too, when I will tell a joke and somebody will read into the joke something that I did not intend, and like I told a joke at a show the other night, and the crowd groaned, and it was like the most benevolent joke. It was just a solid little one-liner joke that had no ill will behind it, and they groaned me, and I was like, "Oh, what are you guys reading into this joke that I haven't thought of?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like when people say, like, is there a message in your book? I want to be able to tell them, not so much.
Sure.
There's a thematic spectrum, don't get me wrong. I want people to see that courage and sticking to your guns and doing what is right and not what is expected are not going to be easy, but are always worth it in the end. And that the right path for me is not always the right path for others, and that's okay too. And accepting life's adversity and change for what it is, and maintaining a strong sense of self in spite of it all. That's the strength of character not nearly celebrated enough. And this mentality is something I think is historically exemplified in pirates of the past. They lived to be the masters of their own destiny. They were working together in an imperfect yet damn near true to its definition democracy. Sure. They were progressive for their time and accepting of all manner of color, race, religion, gender, creed, and even in their own version, they had their own version of marriage that went beyond the conservative definition of who can marry whom legally, and they epitomized living free from tyranny. And it just doesn't seem right for me to write a story in which it would take away from what piracy really was historically, and by stripping away what the world is today and putting it into a fantastical setting, it allows people to see piracy for what it truly is, rather than trying to apply it to what we know about today's world. And that's kind of why I ultimately made the decision to create the world myself.
Nice. Okay. So then, with that in mind, why did you decide to make Gup and his parents privateers rather than pirates?
That, again, was just to stick to that idea of sticking to your guns and doing what's right, not what is expected. Because when people think of pirates, they think more of the villain. But when they think of privateers, they think that there's still that moral high ground, I believe, is my ultimate goal there. And here's the other thing, too. Gup is at that tender age where he still needs his parents. Have you ever heard Row the Boat Child?
No.
It's like a sea ballad lullaby. It's very, very beautiful. You should listen to it.
Okay.
But when I hear this song, I feel like the lyrics kind of imply that sailing as a lifestyle has this deeply rooted continual innocence to it, as if sailors are forever lost children.
Okay.
And who are perpetually seeking something beyond the horizon. And when I first heard that song, I thought to myself, what if I wrote a book for my son about a boy sailor who isn't just young at heart, but truly innocent? And then, he's dependent on his parents' guidance still, but then just take it all away from him. And he's forced to grow up very fast, of course. And what would that look like? How would that change him? Or how would he stay the same? So the mood of Row the Boat Child pretty much is the tone I wanted for the beginning of The Dangerous Voyage of Gup the Sailor. I wanted it to feel like this dark lullaby. But it's something that you want to believe it's all going to be okay, even though you're not really sure how yet. And I felt that pirates are already past that innocence, and I felt that privateers haven't fully made that devil-may-care privateers are still in that sense where they see themselves as the good guys, and pirates are just like, well, I am the villain, but that's cool.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I wanted to keep it there. But because Gup is so young, he's going to be teetering on that fine line of, am I more like my parents, or am I more like Captain Keelhaul, the villain pirate who he ends up face to face with?
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's a coming of age story, but not the kind you'd expect where he grows up to be the good guy, but is he going to grow up to be a good guy or a bad guy? And that's something that everybody kind of has to level with themselves in their own childhood and growing up in their adolescences.
Certainly.
Which road are they going to take, the high road or the low road? And
yeah.
So that's something I also wanted to kind of have out there.
Yeah, and I like that he is faced with some things that are decidedly pirate-like rather than privateer-like, and he has to do them because that's the only way the things are going to get done. And I think that's an interesting way of drawing the gray area in between the black and white.
And because privateers and pirates are so similar, I mean, it's really a matter of perspective as well. And one of the characters points that out early on in the book, too, one of the orphans. You know,
Sure.
His perspective of a privateer is not much different than a pirate.
Uh-huh.
And so you get into that. It's like I said earlier with the when the character, it's actually Edgar's character, he's saying to Gup's character, you know, privateers and sailors are all pirates. And honestly, there's very little distinction between them.
Uh-huh.
And as you're growing up and learning for yourself who you want to be, and you have to decide for yourself, is what's right for me is not always right for somebody else, and that's okay. And that's kind of like an acceptance of other people for who they are.
Absolutely. And so tell me a little bit about your career as a writer. Is this your first book?
This is my first published novel, yes.
Okay.
I had done several years of blogging for women in sport fishing.
Okay.
And after that career kind of ran its course, and I decided I wanted to stop blogging and really start focusing on publishing novels that I had intended to write for years.
Uh-huh.
It was just kind of like a regular old career change that I decided to make one day. And
okay.
When I was pregnant with my son, I actually had a very difficult pregnancy and was on bed rest, and it was very hard for me to get out and do the same fishing interviews that I used to do, go out and actually going out on boats or on kayaks or surf fishing and interviewing different people in the scene. And so during that time, I thought, you know, if I can't get my strength and health back to where it needs to be, where I can be out doing that all the time, maybe I should slow down and, you know, sit at a computer and write these books I had planned on writing all of my life.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how long
and
did it
worked
take
out.
you? Yeah. How long did it take you to write the first one?
3 years, but
Okay.
the side story to the 3 years is that I only wrote 6 chapters in the first 2 years, and I wrote the rest of it in the last year. So,
Interesting.
when you have a baby at home, writing isn't as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until he was a little bit more self-sufficient that the rest of the book kind of fell into place. And
Okay.
now that the Gup is old enough, I can actually start pounding these books out a little better, come hell or high water.
Right. There you go. So the next one you said is written, and I believe you're doing a Kickstarter for it. Tell me a little bit about what you're planning for that.
I am. I have a Kickstarter campaign that'll be launching on February 1st, and there will be links, and there's a video introduction to that on my website at jenaimarek.com. The link isn't up yet. I won't set it live until February 1st, of course, but you can always go onto my website and watch the 3 or 4 minute video that will let you know why I need the Kickstarter campaign right now. Originally, I wasn't planning to do a campaign for this book, but unfortunately, when Hurricane Harvey hit the state of Texas, my family was actually pretty affected by that. In fact, we lost our house, and we are still trying to rebuild after that.
Wow.
And so rather than having the free time and the capability of promoting book 1, because of course the hurricane hit 2 months after I published volume 1.
Sure.
So I am really trying to promote my first novel, get my second novel released on time, which it has already been, the publication date's been pushed back a couple months because of Harvey already.
Uh-huh.
And I decided, I guess shortly after Harvey, that my only option to cover the production cost of volume 2 would be to humbly ask my earlier backers from my first Kickstarter campaign to consider backing my second novel as well, so I can get back on track.
Certainly, yeah.
The goal was to use the proceeds from my first novel to cover the cost of my second one, and that just didn't happen after the hurricane. So
right.
But I'm not going to let that get me down because we've been through worse. So here we are.
Well, that's good. I mean, is the writing and the work on the book, is that a respite from dealing with a destroyed house in a hurricane, or is it one more thing on top of everything else? Which of those does it feel like to you?
Definitely both.
Okay.
It is a perfect mesh of heartache and just complete relief. When I'm working on Gup the Sailor and the Devil to Pay, which is the second book, I get to escape my reality for a while and go into this fantastic world I created and remember why it's so important for me to write it. So that when children are so susceptible to emotional trauma because of their age and their innocence, that when they go through tough times, they need that escape too. And if this book can't get me through my troubles with the hurricane, then there would be no point in writing it. So I want these books to be out there for kids to maybe escape their own troubles and fall in love with the characters and imagine going on this adventure with them, because that's really, you're not going to go on an adventure sitting playing Mario Kart.
Right.
So there's still a very legitimate reason to have these adventurous books out there, and the freedom that piracy just celebrates is something that we all deeply want. I think it's just this human nature to want to just spread your arms and feel the salty air in your face and just go on an adventure and leave the craziness behind.
Sure.
You want crazy, but you want a crazy that's safe. And
right.
We're not really going to go plunder and pillage, but if we can go on that journey in a book, that's just something that I just think is invaluable at this time.
Yes, certainly.
I'm very, very pro reading.
Good. I am too. I do a lot of reading. Tell me a little bit about your publishing process for the first book. You said you did a Kickstarter from it. What did you learn in doing? Because I know I have a lot of authors listening who are interested in doing Kickstarters. What did you learn in doing that first one that you applied or going to apply to the second one?
The best way to get backers is not to spam social media, but to, and this is a hard thing to do, mind you, make connections with people who already have a following, meet people who already have a good rapport with their audience, introduce what it is you're doing to them, and make sure that their audience is your target audience.
Sure. I
have gone to all of the local coastal shops in my area, and I have made friends with my local rum master distiller, and I've reached out to people in the community who already have this great rapport with our local pirate community. Okay. And I've said, is what I'm doing interesting to your audience? Would you mind sharing what I'm doing and telling them that by backing my books, this is a benefit to our community? And that is really the best way to get people to find you and be interested in you, is because they're already going to be following people who are a step ahead of you in marketing or a step ahead of you in the public eye. And it's hard, but making those connections with those people is probably one of your most valuable resources when it comes to asking for crowdsourced income. So that would be my 2-cent advice. It's not worth much, but it's been the biggest help for me, is to learn how to network appropriately.
Yes. Oh, that is a fantastic tip. That is really great. So you are part of. You're not just a pirate author. You are actually part of the pirate community in your area too. Tell me a little bit about what you're into and how you got into it.
When I finally got to meet the master distiller of our local rum distillery, I found out that she has a pirate tasting room and Buccaneer bar. Okay. And that their patrons are a pirate guild. It is the Raylene Buccaneer Bar and Distillery. Okay. And that is in Bay Cliff, Texas, or San Leon, Texas. two small towns smashed right next to each other that I love dearly. And literally, I'm a 10-minute drive from the rum distillery. That's kind of dangerous, but I love it. And as soon as I found out there was a pirate guild, I signed up, and I now enjoy going to a pirate bar and meeting other people with the same passion and enthusiasm for pirates and buccaneers and privateers. It's a wonderful way to really meet people who share interests with you.
Sure.
By looking into things like that. And I'm very fortunate to live so close to a rum distillery. That's just, for someone who loves pirates as much as I do, that was kind of a very large, odd blessing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain even a little about that.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. That's really great. And so what kind of stuff do you do with that crew outside of drinking rum?
Well, we have pirate bands that come and play, and they have theme days there. So on a guild's night, if it happens to be around May 4th, they might do Star Wars themes where all the pirates come in their pirate gear, also dressed up as Star Wars characters.
Nice.
It's just a lot of goofy fun. It's a typical bar, but we also share local pirating events. For example, the Texas Pirate Convention, I guess. There's the biggest one in Texas is actually in Dallas, and I have yet to be to that one yet. But the closer one down here on the coast is it's the Palacios Pirate Festival. Okay. And I am making it. I do go to the Palacios Pirate Festival every year, but this year I'm planning to actually have a book booth. Okay. So that I can introduce, the central Texas coast, because I'm on the east side of the coast. Okay. To my books and kind of spread out that way. And I know Corpus Christi also has a pirate festival during their rodeo, which I have not been to yet because that's a little bit further too. And Texas is a very big state, and it's hard to make all the traveling with a toddler 4-year-old. So I'm just now starting to branch out a bit more and get to all the different local pirate festivities so that I can kind of get my name out there a little bit more before I travel out of state. Sure. But I'm also looking at, I know NOLA has a pretty big pirate festival too that I'm possibly going to head over there. And so, I'm really trying to kind of drop my books in all the local pirate areas with a lot of rich culture and history. I mean, like Jean Lafitte, he historically did a lot of pirate historical business out of New Orleans, but he also retired right here on Galveston Island. So
that's right. Yeah.
So we have a historic place where his home is sort of still standing. It's not much left of it, but it's there. And he did have a weapons cache on San Leon, very close to where the rum distillery is. So there's a lot of pirate history in my area too, surrounding the Lafitte brothers. So it's kind of interesting for me to draw from that too when I'm writing the books. I like to go to the Pirate Museum on the island and learn a little bit about the pirates who've actually step foot in our local area, because it kind of helps me develop that realistic sense in my fantasy world, because even though it's fiction, I want to put as much realism in it as possible.
Certainly, yeah. Now, you were talking earlier about doing fishing, blogging, and things like that. So you've been a seafaring gal for quite a while, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, I love...
What was did you grow up on the water, or was there something like that in the past? How did you get into it? And I only ask that because the water terrifies me. For being a pirate guy I am not a water guy at all.
Okay.
But so how did you grow up where that became a big thing in your life?
I'm pretty sure the day I was born, I decided that I was born in the wrong spot. I was born in North Dakota.
Okay. Yeah, that's the wrong spot.
In a snowstorm. And after 17 days, my mom said, nope. And we moved from North Dakota to Montana, which wasn't any better.
Right. Okay.
Then when I got into high school, I decided the cold was enough. I wanted to be by the ocean because I had grown up loving Treasure Island and a bunch of other adventure novels. And I knew that I was not meant to be landlocked. So I was going to the sea.
All right.
So I moved to Washington State.
Okay. Where it's equally cold in the water.
Where it's equally cold, but there is water.
Yeah.
And after I realized that the cold was still a deal breaker for me, I ended up down here in Texas.
Okay.
But I have always been a very avid fisherwoman, and I just love the ocean. I mean, if you look at pictures from when I was a little girl in any of my parents' photo albums, you will see me with stuffed fish or with a fishing rod in my hand or on the river or on a lake, or I just wanted to be by the water.
Nice.
And I didn't particularly care what type as long as I didn't have to be on land for too long.
Okay.
And when I was old enough to start adulting and making decisions for myself, I made it to the water as quick as I could, got into a little bit more serious fishing, and now I do everything from kayak fishing, boat fishing, surf fishing for sharks, tagging sharks with NOAA, so they can get their research in electronically, and just all kinds of stuff like that. And I've grown very close to the fishing community here in Texas, and that's really what got me started in blogging. So I started doing that probably back in 2009.
Okay.
And I did that until 2013. And that's when I started saying, I'm going to focus a little bit more on my books for a while and my son. And so, that's where I'm at.
So it's one thing to throw a line in the water. How do you go from that to going, I want to tag sharks? That seems like a very interesting kind of niche thing, but I mean, who are you helping do that, and how do you go about saying you want to do that?
Sharks are kind of like a sport fish down here.
Okay.
The catching of them is exciting and challenging, but then NOAA offers, for people who are skilled at healthy releases, NOAA offers a sign-up form where you can fill that out online. They actually mail you these shark tags, and they tell you how to do it properly, and they have a whole website dedicated onto how to properly tag the animal and keep it in the wash so it doesn't stay out of the water too long to hurt it.
Okay.
Make sure you get a healthy release. And you take teaches you how to properly take the measurements so that if anyone catches a tag shark again, they can look at that tag and they can take the measurements, and they can upload it online, and they can actually see where the shark has traveled, how much it's grown, stuff like that. It's just a tracking for species population.
Oh, okay.
So it's just something you can add to your fishing experience if you care about the healthy populations of the shark species and stuff like that.
So you get the excitement of catching a shark, but then you get to help the shark and put it back.
Right.
Okay.
And you get to help its species too, because it gives the actual biologists who study these animals a good look at what their health and migration patterns are, and it helps with conservation efforts. And so there's the sport fishing aspect of it, but then there's also the conservation effort behind it. So,
okay.
And that's really important to me as well, is when I'm fishing for sport, I'm not really fishing to remove the animal from the water. I'm really just trying to have fun out there. So.
I see. Okay. Interesting. That's fascinating. That's really cool. So where is the best place online for people to keep track of what you're doing, and where would you like them to get the books and all that?
I'm actually in a printing transition right now. So at the moment, they can get it on Kindle. All you have to do is search Gup the Sailor.
Okay.
You can get it on Amazon. You can also type in Amazon Gup the Sailor. It'll pop right up.
All right.
But I am switching from Amazon's printing company to Ingram, which is the world's largest book printing company and database, so that it can actually be sold in brick and mortar buildings. So by the end of the year, you should be able to walk into any Barnes & Noble or Borders, or even your indie stores like, I don't know, Book Soup or Elliott Bay. You'll be able to walk into those brick and mortar stores and say, hey, do you carry this on the shelf? And if they don't, they'll be able to hop online and order it right in for you.
Okay, great.
So that's but that won't happen till the end of the year. But right now, Amazon is the place to order, and Kindle, of course. And then to keep up to date on the latest news for all of my books, you can go to jenaimarek.com, JenaiMarek. Or you can follow me on Facebook or on Twitter. Twitter is at Jenai Marek.
Okay.
And if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can either type into the search at official Jenai Marek, or you can just type in facebook.com/official Jenai Marek.
Yeah, I will get that all in the show notes, and make sure we get people over to check out your books and your websites and all that kind of good stuff. And that was an abrupt ending to the interview, was it not? Sorry. For some reason, the file that I got when we recorded this together was missing the last minute or so of our discussion. So it was pleasantries and thank yous. You really didn't miss any pertinent information there, but I just didn't have a good place to end it there. So that is my interview with Jenai Marek. And of course, the Kickstarter is on for the second book called The Devil to Pay. And I have set up a quick link for you for the Kickstarter, because you know those Kickstarter URLs, they're like dash this, dash that, //. They're tough to just listen to. So go to underthecrossbones.com/gup. That's GUP, underthecrossbones.com/gup. That will take you right to her Kickstarter page, where you too can make a donation and get in on the action. And if you want to find out more about what she's up to, go to jenaimarek.com. It'll be in the show notes, but I'll spell it for you. Jenai is Jenai. And Marek is Marek, JenaiMarek.com. All that will be in the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/128. We're sponsored today by Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music in pirate radio talk. You can listen to Under the Crossbones on both their stations. Just go to pirateradio.thetreasurecoast.com or pirateradiotc.com, and don't forget to download the apps. That's the Pirate Radio Treasure Coast app for the music station, and Pirate Radio Talk for the talk station. Just saw some stats from Pirate Radio the other day, and we're up there. We're in the top reaches of their charts. So thank you for listening. If you're listening on Pirate Radio of the Treasure Coast, and be sure to keep up with us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Under the Crossbones. You'll find us there. But join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. I have an ebook for you. That is Pirates of Panama, or Buccaneers of America by Alexander Exquemelin, originally published in 1678. And if you've not read it, it's a fantastic piece of period historical writing. Alexander Exquemelin was a doctor who ended up on pirate ships and then wrote about his adventures. So this is right in the golden agey kind of piratey time, and he did the thing and wrote about it. And it's a great book. Any pirate fan should definitely check it out. And I have a free ebook version of it for you. Just go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the free ebook button, and you can get it right there. Or if you're out and about and all you have is your phone with you, you can text the word pirate. Oh, I miss my phone. You can text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. I would do it if I had a phone that wasn't in the shop being repaired. Here it is again. You can text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. And that is our show for today, kids. Thank you once again for tuning in. I always appreciate you being here and telling your friends and joining us on Facebook and Twitter and talking and all that kind of good stuff. If you want to find out more from my guest, Jenai Marek, go to JenaiMarek.com. And if you want to check out her Kickstarter for Book 2 of the Gup series called The Devil to Pay, go to underthecrossbones.com/gup, G-U-P. That will take you right to her Kickstarter page, making it nice and easy. We've got some amazing shows coming up, some off-the-grid kind of shows that you may not be expecting, but they're going to be fun. Next week, we're going to hear from Keith Martin, and he is from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. What does that have to do with pirates? You'll have to listen in to find out, but there's a connection. Then we'll hear from Bill Fernie, author of Black Hearts, White Bones. That's going to be a good one. And Sophia Concelli of the Cape Fear Parrot Sanctuary. Again, we're not just talking about parrots. There's pirates involved, and Sophia Concelli is a great lady. So lots of great shows coming up, and I got some more on the calendar to get recorded, and it's going to be all fun. So get those show notes at underthecrossbones.com/128, and I'm gonna go get in the car and drive to Las Vegas. I'll see you next week.